Have you ever noticed that your voice starts to change that exact moment that you want to hit record? You're this normal, perfectly articulate human being, and you're able to talk to friends. Maybe you can Zoom with your team as long as it's not being recorded. But whenever you hit that little red button, all of a sudden your pitch goes up or your chest gets really tight. You start to stumble over words, and it can be so frustrating. Now, look, maybe you do struggle at video taking right now. I mean, that is really normal and is 100% allowed because being on video, it's a skill. And if you haven't done it much, you probably are going to struggle at the beginning or for a while because it takes time to get comfortable while recording. And that's just kind of the tax you pay to get good at something. But if you are great in front of clients and you only fall apart the second that little red light turns on, then that's not a lack of skill. It's just straight up physical stress response. I want you to think about it like this. Last week, we talked about how our bodies get trapped in the survival loop. And what happens is when we are doing too much, we just start running on absolute fumes. And this is the exact same survival mode that is happening when you are hitting that red button because your body is just freezing. You could be the most confident person in the room full of clients, but that moment that you look at the camera lens, what happens is that your body, it just goes into this total lockdown. Your throat tightens up, you might lose your breath, and all of a sudden you feel like a robot and you just still feel frozen and don't know what to do. Your brain is literally viewing that lens as the eye staring you down, and your nervous system is trying to protect you by making you feel small and making you be quiet because that's what we have to do to protect ourselves. Because back in the day, if we were being stared down by this unblinking eye, AKA like a tiger or a predator, it meant that we would become lunch. And so you had to freeze. You had to be as quiet and as small as possible. But you can't grow a business if you're trying to stay invisible. And it doesn't help us to feel like we are being seen or watched by a tiger. So today we're going to talk about how to physically get your body to relax so that your voice can actually sound like you. Now, before we talk about how to fix the physical side of this, we need to look at what's happening in your head. Because if you don't understand why you're locking up, no amount of breathing exercises are going to save you. When we freeze on camera, we usually tell ourselves, I just don't know what to say, or I don't like how I look, or I'm going to mess up and this is going to sound horrible. And we make it about the script, or we make it about the lighting, or what we're looking like. But that's just us trying to make this primal fear sound sophisticated. And what you're actually afraid of isn't the camera. You're afraid of that perceived judgment on the other side of it. Think about who you are when you're working with a client. You're in your element, right? You're responding in real time, and there's this feedback loop, right? You're going back and forth. You can feel their energy, gather information, and it allows you to feel more comfortable. But a camera lens, it doesn't give you anything back. It's just this blank glass void. And as humans, we are faced with a void that makes us instinctively fill it with our worst insecurities, right? So when there's no emotional response or interaction, we feel more insecure. And the vast majority of time, we have the camera there so we can see ourselves, which makes it even harder. And so we assume that the person that's going to be watching this after we're done with the recording is going to judge every single piece of it. The things that we stutter over, our hair, our accent, our expertise. And so to protect ourselves, we do this thing. We put on a mask. And we try to sound professional. So we use bigger words and we might stiffen our posture and we feel very flat and like we have a mask. But the irony to that is that the more you try to protect yourself by sounding perfect, the less authentic that you feel to the person watching. And your audience, they don't want this polished corporate spokesperson. They want a human being. So when you freeze up and when you read like a robot, you are withholding the very thing that makes people want to work with you, your actual energy. So you have to ask yourself, am I making this video to help someone? Or am I making this video to protect my ego from looking silly? Because you can't do both at the same time. So how do we break that freeze? We have to send this physical signal to our brain that we aren't in danger, even though our body feels like we are. And we need to do it before we press record. So the next time that you shoot, I want you to try this 3-step sequence. First, before you even touch the camera, stand up. Do not sit down and huddle over your desk. I want you to stand up and I want you to put your weight onto your feet and really feel the floor underneath you. Just kind of shift your weight back and forth until you feel heavy and locked in. That is what helps with that grounding sensation, that grounding feeling that our body really struggles with when we are in that flight or fight mode. Second, I want you to close your mouth and just hum a low, deep note for about 10 seconds. It's gonna feel a little silly if you've never done it before, but it is really helpful for our nervous system. That physical vibration, it stimulates your vagus nerve, and it's basically like this biological kill switch for anxiety that tells your brain, hey, we are safe. We are on solid ground. And it drops your voice out of your tight throat and down to your chest. So just stand up and do the little hum. And you'll just feel it going down to your chest instead of in your throat. And then third, when you finally start speaking, pick one actual human being that you know and pretend that you are talking to them directly, just like you're talking to a friend, or maybe you have a client that you really enjoy working with, and just think of them. Stop trying to speak to the internet or to your followers and just speak to Sarah or to Stephanie or to anyone that you feel really close and connected to. And let the air come from your belly, not your throat. Remember, when we get into that fight or flight, we breathe from up here, but when we are in that more relaxed state, we breathe from our belly. So when you're physically grounded, your voice doesn't have to perform for anyone. It just has to be heard. And I want to be honest. People don't buy from perfect people. At least I don't. Perfection scares me because I know I'm not perfect and I really embody that. Instead, they buy from a steady person. So when you show up grounded, when your audience feels safe with you, in a really noisy world, you become the calm in their chaos. So that is why today my challenge for you is to record a 60-second video. And I want you just to forget about the lighting. I don't want you to overthink your script. I just want you to focus entirely on your feet, your breath, and talking to one person. And just allow yourself to be present as you're having a conversation on the screen. Because the more you do that, the safer it's going to feel to jump onto a video and hit record. Now, over the last few weeks, you've started releasing the brakes and clearing out that burnout fog. And now you're learning how to actually own your voice on camera. But I want to warn you about what happens next. As soon as you start showing up like this, a brand new challenge may pop up. that old what if voice may start to get loud. And it may start to play this disaster movie in your head before you even hit the upload button. So if you're tired of predicting the worst case scenario every time that you try to grow your business, whether it is with posting a Facebook post or a video or reaching out to somebody, we need to tackle that fear of failure head on. And that's what we're going to be doing next week. We are going to be flipping the script from catastrophizing to what's actually possible. If you're ready to stop freezing and start leading, hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss the next episode. And if you need some additional support, I do have some free resources below and additional information to help you get started. So go take your pauses, feel your feet, and I will see you next week.